Today's literally felt like Brief City as we're finally getting the updates, the stories that we care about and we want answers to. I'll be talking about the latest on Simons, Garnacho, plus a ton more. So I hope you guys are locked in today for the latest news video. Very quickly, but if you guys are planning on making any purchases for any club items this summer, I'm your guy, and today they have released a back to school collection. So if you guys like the look of any of the Stanley Cups, bags, wallets, shin pads, or anything, and you're thinking of getting something for your little ones, use my affiliate links in the card above or description below. And if you do so, use my discount code NINI10 to get 10% off your final order. So I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get straight into things. We start things with the first story as we finally get some developments surrounding Christopher Nkunku, courtesy of The Athletic, who dropped this story not too long ago. RB Leipzig are stepping up again and are holding talks with us for Christo Nkunku. Now, if you guys remember, Bayern Munich made an offer for Nkunku, but things have stalled and we don't know at this point in time whether Bayern come back again or if this move is off, because Bayern don't want to buy him on a permanent deal. We're quoting around £42 million. That's around 50 million euros for his services. Bayern are just interested in a loan option for now, but could they change their minds? We learned today that another Chelsea target has rejected them, and their options to strengthen an attack now are dwindling and dwindling, with news emerging that RB Leipzig at the moment are entertaining making a permanent move for Christo Nkunku. Could that maybe force Bayern Munich now to get serious and make a bid? Because right now, I don't see who these top attacking options are for them in the market. So let's watch this space. But going back to the Athletics reports and article, at the moment, discussions are for a permanent deal between RB Leipzig and ourselves. Nkunku is open to the possibility of making a return. But things are a little bit techie. Things are a bit complicated because I know that RB don't have the wage structure to be accommodating Nkunku's, I think, 200 million, or is it 180,000 pounds that he's on when he signed for us all those years back. You'd imagine that Nkunku has to take a bit of a wage cut to make that move happen. Now, we know that Nkunku has agreed like personal terms with Bayern Munich a long time ago. Bayern have the money to, of course, pay the wages that he wants. So I feel like there could be maybe another complication because now RB Leipzig have to also persuade Nkunku to take a big wage cut, which is like at least like 50% cut, which is a lot of money. And from Nkunku's perspective, he might think to himself, I'm going back to the club that, that once sold me to Chelsea for less than half the money. It's like I'm taking a step back in my career. They're not as hot as they used to be beforehand. Is this the move I want to make? Let's watch the space. I'm only sharing this because, in my opinion, I don't think it's crystal clear that RB Leipzig are guaranteed, of course, to get this deal over the line. Could there be maybe creative ways they look to maybe accommodate Nkunku's costs? Could that be in the form of maybe, I don't know, giving him like a big signing on fee? Or maybe like image rights working in his favor? All these little like complicated deals that could potentially help. Who knows? Or is the fact that Nkunku wants a permanent move away? The club didn't also just reject Nkunku's, Bayern Munich's Nkunku offer because of a loan deal. But Nkunku himself wants to go to an environment that he feels safe in, that he can remain in consistently to protect his career. He doesn't want to go out on loan and then go on another loan and just not have the environment to focus on your football, which I fully respect, right? So let's watch the space. And if you're Bayern Munich, come on, man. In January, we quoted you 60 million. Right now, it's around 40 mil pounds. It's not crazy. And hopefully, as the window is coming to its end, this may force Bayern Munich to start to maybe make this move, make this offer, and hopefully RB Leipzig, in my opinion, are the catalysts that force Bayern now to get a bit more serious. So that's that news out of the way. But let's discuss the latest news surrounding Xavi Simons at the moment. And we're learning that I mean, as we've learned for a very long time, man, Xavi Simons depends on the self and Nkunku at least first at this point in time. Interesting news from Matt Law, but he reveals that we've already had an agreement in place with RB Leipzig for the signing of Xavi Simons, which I think makes a ton of sense. I would have been very surprised if this was not the case, because we're literally just waiting now for sales to go through to ensure that we bring in our long-term target that we've been keeping patiently waiting in the background, getting ready for this move. So at least that is some positive news surrounding things. The Daily Mail reported today, though, that we're getting ready now to swoop in for Xavi Simons. Of course, we've been holding talks with his camp for weeks now. The personal terms have been agreed upon. Many outlets are confirming this altogether. And we've promised Simons that a bid is coming in pretty soon. In the meantime, it's believed that Xavi Simons will be playing his final game this week against Bayern Munich on Friday. I think it makes the most sense. He has to play. He has to get sharp and ready for his potential move to us. But it does seem like things are starting to kind of gain some traction right now. And it does look like hopefully by next week, this deal could be getting wrapped up and getting over the lines. Simons is another player that Bayern Munich tried to make contact for who rejected the move. He's only interested in signing for us and making the move here. So yes, we just wait now for more positive news around sales. So some of these deals now can just gain some motion and get completed, because a lot of us are getting a bit bored of just kind of discussing the same small updates to this never-ending story, right? But I think after seeing our game against Crystal Palace, that profile of player I've been calling out for a long time, someone that has that ball-carrying speciality. I think if there's one aspect that Simons has in his game over Nkunku, it is in the carrying aspects. I actually think Nkunku is a more complete player overall. Let's not get into that right now. But in terms of what this team needs, more carrying threat in central areas, I think Simons could be interesting. I say this because too often our game can be reduced to being a bit unimaginative when your only carrying threat comes from wingers on the left and right who are getting 2v1 time and time again. That can't be the case forevermore now. So I think Simons can go a long way in helping this team. And I'd be very curious to see how he is used in the team and how he gets on with his potential new teammates. So that is the latest surrounding Xavi Simons. But my friends, we have some interesting updates currently surrounding Nicolas Jackson. And at the moment, Aston Villa are exploring the possibility to make a move for Nicolas Jackson. I think this is positive news. We've been waiting for some developments around this right now. It's been very apparent that Nico is going to be sold this summer, and once we bought both Delap and Pedro together, it spelled the end for Nicolas Jackson. Anyway, we had a big report today from Matt Law, who reveals that Villa are now exploring the possibility of making a move for their long-term target. Now, at the moment, they're exploring the viability of this move. We've quoted around 65 million in terms of valuation for Nicolas Jackson. It's not 80 million anymore. It's down to 65 million. And we've learned from Law's report that Villa are examining how a structure could work. In the meantime, there is interest from clubs in Italy, including Napoli, who need a striker now that Romelu's going to miss the next 3 months. Juventus, Milan. But the thing with these Italian clubs is they don't have the money, and ideally they're preferring loan options first, which is something we ain't gonna do. With Villa on the other hand, there could be something tangible here. They've just sold Jacob Ramsey to Newcastle for 43 million. Leon Bailey has completed a move to AS Roma. That's 2 million loan fee with the option to buy at 22 million euros. Not gonna lie, I'm a bit surprised he's leaving, but with Villa's PSR issues, this is the type of deals they're forced into making. Now, we learned from Law's report that Aston Villa would be open to potential loan first with money coming later. They could be in the form of option to buy, but most importantly, obligations to buy. That is the most key thing we're looking towards. And when you see it like that, we've done similar deals before, and that was when Lewis Hall made his move to Newcastle. That was a loan deal with obligation to buy based on the final league position at which Newcastle finished in. And in the end, I think we cashed in around 28 to 32 million pounds. And with obligations to buy, you can at least account for them on your books, right? Which would allow us to technically still comply with UEFA's PSR rules and the Premier League's PSR rules. So that could be an opportunity to explore, right? Interestingly, though, there's forever been these talks around Morgan Rogers. Now, Morgan Rogers, of course, is a player that Chelsea have liked for a very long time. And Matt Law once said, once upon a time, that if Villa made any efforts for Nicolas Jackson, then they would turn towards, we would then turn towards, of course, making a move for Morgan Rogers. Now, I can't really see this being the case right now. And the reason why I say this is because, I don't know, man, I think there's so much priority now put on Xavi Simons that unless we're just unable to find a move for Nkunku, which would be the only thing that destroys that deal. If Villa was serious about Nicolas Jackson, could there be maybe an easier alternative in terms of doing two separate deals across both clubs? Because the interest of Rodgers hasn't really gone. He suits playing down the left sides. Ideally, I told you guys before in the summer, he would like to sign for us, like to rejoin his boy in Cole Palmer and the rest of the City gang here. And of course, moving to Chelsea with high ambitions, it's a great career move. And he's probably ready for that next step. But I just feel like it's so complicated because if you were to, let's say, do something involving Morgan Rogers and Nicolas Jackson, does that not have maybe consequences for the deal for Alejandro Garnacho? Because we don't need three guys on the left-hand side. Yeah, Rogers can play all across the attack, especially in the middle, right? That could be key for us. But I guess maybe Simons has more classical playmaking abilities. But at the same time, do you always need that if you have carrying threat, which opens spaces up and opens the game up? You guys remember, I wanted Mohamed Kudus. Watching this guy cook at Spurs actually hurts my heart. I know Maresca wanted this guy badly. He would have been incredible for us. And I guess Rodgers is in that same bracket and family of player where creativity doesn't have to come from the final pass. To be fair, bro, we have so many final ball players in the team. It didn't do anything against Crystal Palace because it can't do anything against teams that nullify all spaces. I think we need carrying threat. So, yeah, let's watch the space. Let's see what happens. But it does feel like Nico's future is set to be decided pretty soon right now. So share your thoughts and opinions behind the story, my friends. But right now, we have more updates surrounding Alejandro Garnacho. And we are learning today that Garnacho has told his friends and colleagues he is expecting a move to Chelsea Football Club. We actually learned from Romano as well that basically this deal should be getting wrapped up ASAP. It should be getting gone through pretty soon. And by next week, Garnacho could be a Chelsea player. So make of that what you will, my friends. It's interesting update right now. As Romano here revealed on his Twitter page today, we're advancing in club-to-club talks. We have an excellent relationship with the United CEO and Barada, and he has a great relationship with our hierarchy as well. So that is interesting to see. At the moment, Garnacho has remained adamant he only wants to sign for Chelsea Football Club. He was the player to reject an approach from Bayern Munich. He's remained adamant this entire summer that he only wants to come here and sign for us. And it does seem like his wishes may be coming true at this point in time, boys. Now, there is some tactics behind this deal now. And that's essentially in terms of what we're trying to do to sign Garnacho for the fee we want to sign him for. If you guys remember, there is a valuation difference right now. Man United are looking towards players like Madueke, who was sold for around 50 mil, and other comparable players. They're pricing Garnacho around a similar bracket and fee. I don't know why, but that's what they're doing. But in the meantime, though, our valuation's around 30 million, which I think is a bit too low. And after seeing what we did with Jamie Gittins, I think we will increase that offer, but not by that much. You know, maybe even below the halfway point for a deal like this, right? And for us, we see it like this. Essentially, because Garnacho's relationship with Amorim has completely deteriorated, he hasn't played in any preseason games. He's not started the league. United have a distressed asset, and the longer he doesn't play, and if nothing materializes, then his value drops further and further and further. And after the investment that they've, showcased this summer, they need to bring in guarantee money, and the sale of Garnacho is pure profit on the books, which really gives them a lot of flexibility in terms of spending. So we see it like this essentially. The longer this goes on, the better chance we have at signing Garnacho at the fee we want to sign him for. And that's basically because there's no competition in for him. He has no future under Ruben Amorim. And United need the money. So I do feel like we are going to potentially get Garnacho for something pretty good. I think 35 million, that seems quite fair. 35 million and some potential future add-ons that maybe take this deal to around 40 million. That seems like that could be the fair balance, in my opinion, to get this deal over the line. Interestingly, though, I want you guys to share your thoughts and opinions on this, but after seeing our performance against Crystal Palace, I don't think we can maybe take like crazy amounts from it, but we can definitely conversate about that because it did remind us of last season's woes. Now, Palace are an amazing team, but we have suffered against teams that have used 5 at the back defensively and 4 midfield, which is what Palace did exactly. After seeing how maybe our wide players, didn't necessarily create new conditions and possibilities, because how can you do that when you're isolated, which was the same stuff our wingers faced last season? What exactly does Garnacho necessarily bring against this style of team? Now, maybe I'm seeing things wrong, because if you're Maresca, he might be like, well, against teams where we're going to play more transitionally, Garnacho, I'm going to use you. Against these low block teams, Gittins, I'm going to use you for your close control. I think that's the type of squad he wants to have. But regardless of what I'm thinking, what is your thoughts on Garnacho being maybe the, great balance that adds to our wingers in the squad right now? Let me know your thoughts and opinions below. But right now, my friends, we end things with the final story. And we have reports surrounding Renato Veiga because it seems like he could be finding a move out from the football club pretty soon, as today he has agreed verbal agreements with Villarreal. But don't get too gassed, don't get too carried away, as negotiations are still going on. Now, we've dropped our valuation for Veiga. When his move to Atleti did not materialize, we wanted around 40 million euros, around 35 million pounds. Atleti said no. I think the max it would go up to is around 30 million. Now we've dropped that by 5 million. We're hoping to earn around 30 million pounds for the deal, but Villarreal aren't trying to get past 25 million. However, there's a belief that maybe a deal can be struck just under 30 million pounds. Is that going to be maybe sell-on clauses included? If I'm Chelsea Football Club, and I'm desperate to sell Veiga because we have to sell him right now, I would probably take really good sell-on clauses from Villarreal, because if he performs there, he's most likely getting a move to another club in the future. That's the reality. And let's say Villarreal was to sell this guy for 50 million, 55 in the future, because, we really back his potential, right? That could be a calculated gamble to take. And if there was like a 25%, 30% sell-on clause on that, you're earning a lot more money in the future for his sale, right? So let's see what happens there. But just like food for thought, maybe like fresh from the dome thoughts I have right now. But sometimes I have these little concerns of maybe if we continue this reputation of maybe, I don't want to say difficult, that's like too strong a word, but being a club where when we're trying to sell players, the sole players aren't getting the moves to the destinations they're hoping to get because of like small value differences, etc., etc. Could that make it harder for us maybe to get other players in the future? Because agents might be like, well, a consequence of signing for Chelsea is that it's quite hard to get the moves that you want that will better your career. Because it's kind of mad to think that Veiga could have maybe been sold to Atleti. And if we do maybe sell Veiga to Villarreal, we could have just collected that money from Atleti when they placed the offer, before they said no to sign Hanchko, and had no stress to deal with, and had even more time to focus on the sales of your Sterlings and your Chilwells and getting these deals in. So I don't know, food for thought. But with Veiga and Nkunku you're seeing, and Ziyech, listen, I know on the other hand, you know, the club respect their valuations. It's not a charity. We bring in the money we want, right? But at the same time, I guess there's got to be a balance found, right? Where you're not going to get all the money for players you want. And it's not the first time we've placed crazy valuations on players. I'll give you the example, Christopher Nkunku in January. 60 mil we wanted for him. We've dropped that to 40 million. His value's dropped by 20 million in 6 months. So it's not really telling you that, you know, we always sell at the values we want. Sometimes when the deal's there, should we not have the foresight to think, well, you know what, maybe we'll take this one because realistically, we're not going to be getting the crazy money we want. But anyway, my friends, that's all the stories and reports today. Get involved in the conversation. Share your thoughts on the latest stories today, and I will catch you guys tomorrow with more videos. Love. Cool.